Right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. I want to start by saying thank you for being here. We have some news to announce and share with our customers and our communities. My name is Robert Kinney. I have the privilege of serving as the president of Xcel Energy Colorado. I'm joined by several colleagues here, Brandon Deagle, who's our vice president of transmission operations, Paul McGregor, who's our vice president of wildfire risk mitigation, Holly Velasquez Horvath, who is our vice president of community relations. And then not with us today is our Vice President of Distribution Operations, Gil Salazar, who's the incident commander for this incident, and he is stationed at our service center in LDC. We're here today because we want to let our customers and our communities know that we're seeing extreme weather conditions. We're seeing extremely high winds that we're expecting today, coupled with low relative humidity and coupled with a high wildfire index that's leading to extreme weather conditions that could potentially lead to a wildfire ignition. To protect public safety, given that criteria, we will be proactively de-energizing our power lines in certain of our communities. So there are approximately 49,000 customers that will be impacted in 5 counties. That's Boulder, Larimer, Jefferson, Weld, and Clear Creek. Those 5 counties will be impacted. We anticipate that we will begin de-energizing today at 10 o'clock, and we expect that wind event to subside at 6 p.m. today. Given the fact that we're expecting winds that are 65 to 80 miles per hour throughout our service territory and upwards of 90 miles per hour in certain pockets, this high wind event will also cause other outages separate and apart from the public safety power shutoff. Again, this is a precautionary measure that we're doing to mitigate the risk of a wildfire. We have been working with our offices of emergency management and our other communities over the last 7 days to help our customers get prepared for this event. The other thing that we want our customers to know is that we will be working very diligently once the wind event subsides to begin restoring power. But I want our customers and our communities to know we won't be able to restore power until after the wind event subsides. We will start inspecting power lines across 24 feeders, 678 miles of line that will need to be visually inspected, and that inspection cannot begin until it's safe to do so, and it won't be safe to do so until after the wind subsides. So customers should be prepared that we won't be able to restore power until after 6 o'clock. Once we are able to start inspecting, we will have to visually inspect the lines using our teammates. Our crews will be out foot patrolling, visually inspecting the lines. We will also be using drones and helicopters. We won't be able to fly helicopters until daylight and until the wind subsides. As you might imagine, it's not safe to do that in high winds. But we will be working as quickly and as diligently as possible. We will have hundreds of Xcel crew members ready to go to get our customers restored as quickly as possible. The other point that I want to make is that given the fact that these outages may be extended for several days, in conjunction with the Red Cross and our county offices of emergency management and communities, we will be setting up comfort stations or community resource centers where customers can go to charge phones, to get warm, to get water. The other thing I'd like our customers to know is that we're going to need your help. If you see a downed power line, please stay away from it and immediately report any downed power lines to us. We also have encouraged our customers to take precautions in advance, charging phones in advance, making sure that you have water on hand, making sure that your vehicles are charged. If you have an electric vehicle, making sure that your automobiles have gasoline, making sure that you know how to open your garage manually if your power is out. So again, we're doing this as a matter of public safety, in addition to the suite of wildfire mitigation efforts that we have available. We are hardening our system. We've installed weather cameras and weather stations. The public safety power shutoff is a tool that we use when the most extreme weather conditions exist. So in conjunction with all of our other wildfire mitigation efforts, we're taking this step to protect public safety. With that, I'd like to take any questions that you might have. Yes, please.
You mentioned community resource centers. Where will those be located?
So in conjunction with the Red Cross and with our community partners. They will be located in those specific counties. I don't know, Holly, if we know specific addresses, but we will have that information at xcelenergy.com.
How many crews do you have to stand by ready to go in case there is down power lines and you know, to get it back up? Are you guys all hands on deck?
We are all hands on deck. We will have hundreds of crew members ready to go, upwards of 375 that are ready to go, that are being pre-positioned. And if we need be, we can draw on resources from our sister utilities if need be, but also from our colleagues at our SPS, which is one of our other utilities in Texas.
Is this kind of a new process about how to go about things in Colorado? And if so, how do you think the operations have been?
Well, this will be the second time that we've executed a public safety power shutoff. We executed a public safety power shutoff in April of 2024. We also have experience with our other utility. We have operations in Texas, as you might know, where we've also executed this. This is a tool that we have significantly improved since April of 24. What we heard from our customers in our communities was that they wanted more advance notice. So as early as Sunday night, we started working with and notified our offices of emergency management that the possibility existed, that the weather conditions existed. I think that in terms of protecting the public, this is a tool that's in our toolbox that we will execute when the most extreme weather conditions dictate. But we're working really closely with our customers, our communities, our offices of emergency management, the state office of emergency management as well, to make sure that we're well coordinated. And then operationally, we're prepared to execute this, and then we're prepared to restore our customers as quickly as possible.
And then my last question was, you said you anticipate turning them off at 10 o'clock. What will determine when you actually turn them off?
Well, let me be more clear. We're going to pre-position our crews starting at 9 o'clock, actually. The wind event will begin at 10 o'clock. So we expect that we will start de-energizing lines prior to 10 o'clock. So, and that will happen in waves, but we will begin. We've got 24 feeders, 49,000 customers impacted across the 5 counties. That process will begin just prior to 10 o'clock when the wind event starts. And we expect the wind event to run from 10 until 6. If we see that wind conditions begin to subside before 6 o'clock, as it is safe to do so, we will start the inspection and restoration process as weather conditions dictate and allow.
Just one question. I know this is only you all second time doing these PSPs, and I know obviously different scenarios between last April and today. But from that last event, do you know how long it took you all to restore power, if you don't off the top of your head?
So I don't remember. It was greater than 24 hours after the wind event subsided. But again, we're going to move as quickly and as safely as possible once the wind event subsides. And it was a wind storm. And that's the other, thank you, that's another important point, and I want to just reiterate that because of the high winds, and like other storms, there will be other outages that are separate and apart from the public safety, the proactive de-energization.
When the PSPS was first announced the other day, it also included areas around Denver, and now that area's been just kind of more restricted to the foothills. I guess what went into that decision to kind of change the coverage area, and what factors do you consider there?
So we have meteorological data that we're analyzing all the time. And when the wind events first started materializing on Sunday and Saturday, and as we watched the wind evolve, coupled with relative humidity in the fuels, we were able to make the scope smaller. And so there were counties that were originally in scope that we were able to see by virtue of the weather conditions that we were able to take out of scope. And so that's why we were able to get this into a smaller posture.
What's the parameters when you say like miles per hour? Say if it's like at 35 miles per hour, are you going to shut off, de-energize the lines, or are you going to wait till it gets to 60? Or what's the parameters when you start, turning the power off?
So the criteria that we look at, specifically as it relates to public safety power shutoff, all the conditions that I'm about to describe need to be met. So it's high winds in excess, and it depends geographically where we are. What we expect to see are 65 to 80 mile per hour winds, which is in excess of what our criteria provides, coupled with low relative humidity, less than 20%, coupled with a wildfire index of low, medium, high. If it's a high wildfire index, low relative humidity, high wind speeds, those 3 criteria are what we look at to determine whether we need to execute a PSPS. And the reason that's the case is because the low relative humidity coupled with the dry conditions creates fuel on the ground that if there is a wildfire, if there's an ignition, we would expect that that fire would propagate and spread very quickly. So we have wildfire modeling tool that tells us how wildfire would behave in the event of an ignition. So when those conditions are met all together, so it's not just any one condition. I think what we've heard from our customers is it's windy in Colorado relatively regularly. And so it's not just the wind by itself, it's the wind coupled with the relative humidity and the low fuel moisture on the ground.
In addition to PSPS, the announcement said that the lines are going to be EPSS too, kind of high sensitivity. Does the process for reinstating power along those lines differ from PSPS, or is there a different time frame as to how long it would take to reinstate power?
Given the fact that we're going to see a windstorm separate and apart from the PSPS, so EPSS, enhanced power line safety settings, that's changing the sensitivity on our lines when we see high winds, but not necessarily coupled with low relative humidity and fuels on the ground. When we know that we have high winds, we will use EPSS. That's another tool in our toolbox separate from PSPS. But given the fact that we're going to see these high winds and we're expecting a windstorm, coupled with the PSPS, we're going to have all of our crews positioned to be able to, we're still going to need to inspect lines before we can begin the restoration process. So what we're seeing here is the confluence of all of these things. So it's a high wind event, low relative humidity, fuels on the ground. We will have those 5 counties that are going where we will execute the PSPS. Other parts of our system, we will have the power lines in EPSS. All of this to prevent an ignition from happening.
Like in the event of 21, the Marshall Fire, we learned like how fast the winds and they come down power lines. Is this stuff that you've learned from that event?
I'd say this is stuff that we've learned from observing the April public safety power shutoff, peer learning from other utilities. This is what we're seeing in terms of wildfire risk is growing throughout the West. And so we've taken the learnings from our last PSPS event. We've taken the learnings from other peer utilities. We've hired Paul McGregor, who's an expert, nationally recognized, to be able to implement a whole suite of wildfire mitigation efforts.
Can you talk about those mitigations you've done?
Yeah, so we have a wildfire mitigation plan on file with the commission, and essentially the mitigations fall into 3 buckets. The first is situational awareness, and that includes adding weather stations and other cameras so that we can have greater visibility into weather conditions and into the situation that we see on the ground. The second is system hardening and resiliency, and that includes replacing bare conductor with covered conductor, replacing small diameter wire with larger diameter wire, doing targeted undergrounding where the conditions are appropriate to do that. And then the third are our operational mitigations. That's what we're talking about today, the enhanced power line safety settings that we were just discussing, as well as public safety power shutoffs. And then that's all undergirded by additional customer support. And so making sure that we're communicating with our customers well in advance. So that's our wildfire mitigation plan. The operational mitigations that we're talking about today are a tool among all of those other tools.
I want to just piggyback off of that question. No, it's fine. Texas Attorney General filed a lawsuit against you guys today, alleging damages with their largest wildfire in their state. Does any of your proactivity today have to do with that as well as the Marshall Fire?
Yeah, so let me just unequivocally say no. What we're doing today is not related to the Marshall Fire, and it's not related to the Texas Attorney General's lawsuit. We are doing this as a tool of public safety, protect our customers and our communities from the risk of wildfire. Specifically with respect to the Texas Attorney General's office, we've said, and we've got a public statement that we can reissue to you, but we're disappointed that that lawsuit has been filed, and we intend to defend ourselves very vigorously. But what we're doing today is unrelated to either the Marshall Fire or the Texas Attorney General's lawsuit.
And then one more clarifying question. Not sure if I missed this, but I know there could be outages outside of the PSPS that you guys are issuing today. Should those people outside of those 5 counties still expect that same timeline for when their power should come back on?
What I would say is that the customers that are outside of those 5 counties, we can't predict whether they will or will not experience an outage attributable to the wind event overall. We will have all of our crews prepared to begin the inspection and restoration process as soon as it's safe to do so when the wind subsides at 6 o'clock.
Should we go over those 5 counties again?
Yeah, so it's Boulder, Clear Creek, Larimer, Jefferson, Weld.
You mentioned it could be several days in some spots for power restoration. Is that dependent on the damage to the lines, or is that dependent on the location where they are and how accessible they are?
I'd probably say all of the above. That's a great question. So we have this wind event that will go from 10 to 6. We can't begin we have to first visually inspect the lines, and let me just say why that is. If there's a line that's damaged during the wind event and it's laying on the ground, we can't just remotely re-energize that line without inspecting it visually, because as you might imagine, then you've just created the very risk that you're seeking to mitigate. And so we have to physically inspect what we're anticipating just from the PSPS, 678 miles of line, on top of any additional damage that's done during the storm. And so that's why we would expect that it's going to take some period of time after 6 o'clock to be able to inspect the lines, determine the nature of the damage, and then do those repairs. We expect the wind to subside on Thursday. We also are expecting that there will be more weather, severe weather and wind event coming in on Friday. So that could also inhibit our ability to do additional inspections and restoration. And so that's why we're telling customers that you might need to prepare for a multi-day event. I'm going to assume by the silence that there are no additional questions. I do want to just end by saying again, thank you for being here. Please know that we are taking every precaution to keep our customers and our community safe. Our coworkers are going to be working safely as well to help our customers get restored as quickly as possible. But again, this is a measure of public safety, and just thank you very much for being here.
Do you know how many crews will be out? I know you said you're like all hands on deck, but are you talking thousands or just a couple hundreds?
We will have hundreds of crew members that will be pre-positioned and will be ready to go to start inspections and restoration as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.